For starters, I, 16-year-old male, wasn't expecting to be my dad's 34-year-old male favorite. I kind of hoped he loved us equally or would at least lie about it, but I guess I was wrong. This morning, my brother, 17-year-old male, jokingly asked our dad who was his favorite, and he answered. Usually he'd dodge the question, but this time he fully answered. I was just minding my business eating breakfast, and he told my brother that he was the favorite. Completely ruined my day. I expected my dad to say both of us, or no one, or something like that, but no. I asked my dad if he was serious, and he started laughing until he noticed that I got sad, IG. He said that he thought about it, and he had more stuff in common with my brother, which is why he's the favorite. I told my dad that I always thought he didn't like me, but having it said out loud was different. My dad then started getting defensive, saying that he didn't like me less, and I wasn't interpreting it right. I asked my dad to clarify exactly what he meant, and he said that he just likes spending more time with my brother because he relates to him more as they have common interests. He tried to assure me that he still loves me the same, but if I'm being honest, that only hurt me worse. I told my dad that I'd appreciate if he wouldn't answer any more questions when I'm around from now on, and this upset him. He told me that he didn't mean to upset me, but he did though. I told him again that I always knew I wasn't liked very well because I can see that he visibly enjoys spending more time with my brother than he does with me, and hearing him openly say that my brother was the favorite child wasn't surprising. It was just hurtful to know that I was right. I guess this hurt my dad's feelings because he just hugged me and told me that he's sorry if he made me feel that way, as it wasn't his intention. And then he started to cry. He went to his room and hasn't come out yet, which was about an hour ago. I feel bad for making my dad cry because that's not something he does often, and because of that it's abnormal, at least for him. Edit. My dad apologized to me again after he came out of his room. He wasn't crying anymore, but I could still tell that he was sad. I apologized to him because I didn't mean for what I said to come off as too mean, but I told him that he did hurt my feelings. He asked me why I thought that he didn't like me, and I just explained why and how he had a lack of interest in me. He talked to me more, and he apologized again, but he told me that he wants to talk more in the morning and just hug me goodnight. So I'm hoping this is heading in the right direction. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your father should never have said that in front of you, even if it's how he feels. Just a real thing to do. Let him cry. And your brother is truly for asking that type of question in the first place. That said, get used to the idea that your father does love you. He did say so, but some parents just can't help themselves. They let their favoritism show. It's not fair to you, but it's also not a massive thumbs down to you either. Whatever you do, don't try to compete for your father's love. Love yourself and be happy with who you are. You are enough. Comment 2. Not the idiot. It's also 100% not your problem that he is sad. When someone does something bad to you, then gets sad that you are upset about it, and makes you feel like you have to make them feel better, that's emotional manipulation. When people do things that hurt other people, it should make them sad. That's how they know they did the wrong thing. They should also focus on trying to undo the hurt for the other person, not just to focus on trying to get rid of their own guilt. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a while since my last post, and a lot has happened in the past 3 months. First off, thanks for taking the time to read this update. After the conversation with my dad about him favoring my brother, things were a bit awkward between us for a while. We had the talk he mentioned the next morning, and he tried to reassure me that he loved us both equally, but it was hard for me to believe him. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was just saying what he thought I wanted to hear. As the weeks went by, I started to notice that my dad was making more of an effort to spend time with me. He'd ask me about my day, try to engage in conversations about my interests, and even suggest activities for us to do together. At first, I was skeptical and thought he was just doing it out of guilt. But as time passed, I started to appreciate his efforts. However, just as things were starting to improve between us, an incident from my dad's past came back to haunt him. One evening, while we were having dinner, there was a knock at the door. My dad answered it, and I could hear a heated conversation taking place. When he came back to the table, he looked visibly shaken. It turned out that before he met my mom, my dad had been in a serious relationship with a woman named Sarah. They had been together for years, and she had even moved in with him at one point. However, their relationship ended abruptly, and my dad never really talked about what happened. Sarah had shown up at our door, demanding to speak with my dad. She claimed that he had gotten her pregnant all those years ago, and that she had given birth to a child, my half-sibling. She said that she had tried to contact my dad numerous times over the years, but he had always ignored her. My dad was stunned by this revelation and didn't know how to react. He tried to deny it at first, but Sarah had brought proof, a birth certificate with his name listed as the father. My mom was furious and felt betrayed, and my brother and I were left reeling from the news. The following weeks were a mess. My parents argued constantly, and my dad spent a lot of time away from home trying to figure out what to do. He eventually decided to take a paternity test, which confirmed that he was indeed the father of Sarah's child. This news tore our family apart. My mom couldn't forgive my dad for keeping such a huge secret from her, and she filed for divorce. My brother and I were caught in the middle, trying to support both of our parents while also processing our own emotions. As it turned out, my dad had known about the child all along. Sarah had told him about the pregnancy, but he had been too scared to face the responsibility and had cut off all contact with her. He had buried the truth deep down and tried to move on with his life, but it had always haunted him. The divorce was finalized a month ago, and my dad moved out of the house. My brother and I now split our time between our parents, but things are still tense and uncomfortable. I can't help but feel like my dad's past mistake has ruined our family, and I'm struggling to forgive him for it. Looking back, I realize that my dad's favoritism towards my brother may have stemmed from his guilt over the secret child. He may have subconsciously been trying to make up for his past by being a better father to his official children. But in doing so, he ended up hurting me and making me feel like I wasn't good enough. I don't know what the future holds for our family, but I do know that we have a long road ahead of us. We're all trying to heal and move forward, but it's not easy. I just hope that someday we can find a way to forgive each other and rebuild our relationships. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for listening and for all your support during this difficult time. It means a lot to me. Am I the idiot for demanding my housemate's puppy goes to daycare on my days off? 6 months ago, my housemate got a 6-week-old puppy, a Labrador, with separation anxiety. She couldn't even go for a shower because the glass separating them would cause him to howl. He has gotten way better since, but because he's young, his bark is so high-pitched, it's like a knife to my brain. On top of that, he's also a puppy, so he destroys everything he can get his hands on. I've lost multiple plants because of him, a couple of shoes. He's ripped apart almost every fly screen door/window he can reach, the drain pipes, etc. Through all these things, I've been the one at home and she's been at work. I've been the one dealing with the messes he makes. I've been putting up with it for 6 months, but this week he broke through the fence and got into the neighbor's yard. I had to spend the rest of the day with him on his leash. I couldn't do any of the things I had planned because I couldn't leave him alone. He'd either run away or destroy everything. I reached my breaking point 2 days ago and sent her a message asking her to do something about it. Maybe to send him to puppy daycare on Monday and Tuesday, my days off from work when she's working. He has gone before and absolutely loved it, except she's also pregnant and money is tight. Today, she, 34 years old female, her baby daddy, around 38-year-old male, and I, 24-year-old female, sat down. It started with me saying all I have here, calmly, to which she responded by saying that he's still just a puppy and he'll grow out of it. I reiterated that I understand that, but the issues are now and something needs to be done now, not when he becomes an adult. She just kept repeating that he'll grow out of it. From there, it just went downhill to the point where the baby daddy and I were snapping at each other. He said I'm blowing things out of proportion and need to suck it up. That when I agreed to let my housemate have a dog, I agreed to him destroying everything. That me not realizing this would happen is just me being naive and taking responsibility for her dog when she's at work is necessary because I just need to take it for the team. I told him he wasn't listening to what I was saying. I don't want them to get rid of the puppy or anything. I just want the puppy and his messes to not be my responsibility on my days off work. Meanwhile, my housemate didn't say a thing after that first comment. She sat there while he snapped at me for half an hour, and she didn't even look at me while I was sobbing, frustrated tears. All I was asking for was them to understand what I'm feeling and try to come to a compromise we can all be okay with. Instead, I was told to just suck it up and stop being so childish. Was I asking too much? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk. I'm getting quite bad vibes from this, to be honest. Why is her baby daddy, a 38-year-old man, negotiating anything with you? Does he live there and pay rent? Is he involved in the daily care of the puppy? Because if not, none of that is his debate to chime in on. It's weird. The whole dynamic is weird. Is she moving before having the kid? If not, are you going to be interacting with a family of 4 suddenly living at your place because baby daddy and puppy and baby are just going to be hanging around? Personally, I'd be getting rid of these people as soon as possible. Comment 2. Not the jerk, it's not your dog. I'd put everything you value in your room and lock your stuff in there. Find somewhere else to be so work than home during the day. Notify the landlord of damage by said puppy that is not yours. Take photos. Move out as soon as you can get off the lease. Make plans right now. Drop the puppy off at her boyfriend's apartment. Your roommate is weak and her life choices, bullying boyfriend, puppy, bad pet owner, pregnancy, etc., are not your responsibility. Your own life decisions are. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my update. It's been a week since the confrontation with my housemate and her baby daddy, and things have only gotten worse. The day after our heated discussion, I woke up to find that the puppy had somehow managed to get into my room during the night and had torn apart my favorite pair of shoes. I was furious, but I tried to keep my cool and simply cleaned up the mess. Later that day, my housemate approached me and apologized for the way her baby daddy had spoken to me. She said she understood my frustration and wanted to find a solution that worked for everyone. I appreciated her effort, but I couldn't help but feel like it was too little, too late. As the week went on, the puppy's behavior continued to be a problem. He chewed through the cord of my laptop charger, which I had to replace out of my own pocket. He also had a few accidents in the house, which I was left to clean up since my housemate was at work. I tried to keep myself busy with work and other activities, but the constant stress of dealing with the puppy was taking its toll on me. I found myself snapping at my coworkers and struggling to focus on my tasks. One evening, I came home from work to find that the puppy had somehow managed to get into the kitchen cabinets and had scattered the contents all over the floor. I lost my temper and started yelling at the puppy, which only made him cower in fear. My housemate walked in on the scene and immediately started defending the puppy, saying that he was just a baby and didn't know any better. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had been putting up with this for months, and she still couldn't see how much it was affecting me. I stormed off to my room and slammed the door, feeling completely defeated. I knew I couldn't keep living like this, but I didn't know what to do. I had always considered my housemate a close friend, but now I felt like I couldn't even talk to her without getting into an argument. As I lay in bed that night, I started to think about how things had gotten to this point. I realized that I had been holding in my frustrations for too long, and that I needed to be more assertive about my needs. I also realized that my housemate was going through a lot with her pregnancy and the stress of preparing for a new baby, and that maybe I needed to be more understanding of her situation. The next day, I approached my housemate and asked if we could talk. I told her how much I valued our friendship and how much I wanted to find a solution that worked for both of us. I suggested that we come up with a schedule for taking care of the puppy and that we both make an effort to be more considerate of each other's needs. To my surprise, she agreed. We sat down and worked out a plan that involved me taking the puppy to daycare on my days off and her being more proactive about training him and keeping him out of trouble when she was home. It's only been a few days since we had that conversation, but I already feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. The puppy is still a handful, but knowing that I have my housemate's support and understanding makes all the difference. I know that there will still be challenges ahead, especially once the baby arrives. But I feel more hopeful now that we're working together to find solutions. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned through this experience, and I'm determined to keep communicating openly and honestly with my housemate as we navigate this new chapter in our lives. Thanks for reading, everyone. I appreciate your support and understanding. Am I the idiot for giving my husband an ultimatum to attend therapy or get kicked out after he ignored me on Mother's Day? I, 40 years old female, and my husband, 41 years old male, have been married for 21 years. We have several children. The oldest is 20 years old and the youngest is 5 years old. Mother's Day has always been a point of contention. I really wish he would do something nice for me, but he always tells me, "You aren't my mom," and does nothing noteworthy. It's gotten worse over the years and came to a boiling point 2 days ago, Mother's Day. I had reminded everyone that Mother's Day was coming up, but on the day, everyone except our 20-year-old and 18-year-old forgot. Our 20-year-old son works all day and he came over late in the evening, and our 18-year-old said Happy Mother's Day in the morning before he left for work. I can't really fault the other kids for it, as many of them are young. By noon, I was almost in tears. When my husband came out of his man cave and told me he wanted me to cook steak for lunch, I almost broke down crying. I cook almost every day for everyone, and I really just did not want to cook on Mother's Day. I left the house, went for a walk, and bought myself a pizza. When I came home, I put a steak in the air fryer, which was apparently wrong, and he got mad about it. As he was scolding me over cooking the steak wrong, I started crying and said, "It's Mother's Day." And his response was, he yelled at me for wanting to be the center of attention and told me, "You aren't my mother. You did not give birth to me." He spent the rest of the day angry at me. He refused to eat for the rest of the day. He said he wanted the steak to be something nice we did together, and I said I didn't want to have to cook because it was Mother's Day and I wanted him to do something for me. But he didn't want to, so I went for pizza alone. Around dinner time, he made a steak, and I thought it was for him as I had already eaten. But he put it in front of me and told me I better enjoy it. I ate about half. It was a huge steak the size of the plate. I tried to talk to him later. He got angry and stormed out. The next day, he was still angry. I told him he really hurt my feelings, and he said, "You say every other day that I'm hurting your feelings. You always take things wrong, so I guess I just won't talk at all. That way you can't take anything wrong." He wants me to act happy, so I've been trying to, but now it's been 2 days and he's still angry with me. He keeps sitting on the couch, arms crossed, refusing to speak or anything. Maybe I should have just cooked the steak and not gone out? Am I being unreasonable? After all, I'm not his mom. It's just that, as the mother of his children, it would be nice to be celebrated on Mother's Day for once. Update: thank you all for your kind and encouraging words. My husband had a 3-day tantrum where he sat on the couch and just grunted at me anytime I spoke to him. He also kept walking off into the woods as if he was going to harm himself. The kids and I got fed up with his behavior, and I told him either he goes to therapy or I'm going to kick him out. The hard part of that is I've been a homemaker for years and don't have an income of my own. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Why the hell are you staying married to this jerk? Good Lord, you deserve better. Don't stay together for the kids. All that does is show them it's okay for him to treat you that way. Comment 2, I don't buy that line, "You're not my mother." It's not a legally binding contract. It's just a holiday to celebrate mothers. You're not the idiot. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post and for all the support. It's been a tough few months since Mother's Day, but I wanted to give you all an update on what's been happening. After my husband's 3-day tantrum, things were really tense around the house. He did end up going to therapy, but it was like pulling teeth to get him there. The first few sessions, he would come home even more angry and just sit in his man cave for hours. I was starting to wonder if therapy was actually making things worse. But then about a month in, something shifted. He came home from therapy one day and actually apologized to me. He said he realized how much he had been taking me for granted and how unfair it was to expect me to do everything without any appreciation. I was shocked but also relieved. It felt like a small step in the right direction. Over the next few weeks, he started making more of an effort. He would help with the dishes after dinner and even offered to take the kids out for a few hours on the weekends so I could have some time to myself. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Then about 2 months after Mother's Day, we had a big family gathering for our youngest birthday. My husband's parents were there, along with his siblings and their families. Everything was going well until his mom started making comments about how I should be grateful for everything my husband does for me. She said I was lucky to have a man who works so hard and provides for his family. I could feel my blood boiling, but I tried to keep my cool. Later that night, when everyone had left, I confronted my husband about it. I told him how hurtful it was to hear his mom say those things, especially after everything that had happened. He got defensive at first, but then he surprised me. He said he understood why I was upset and that he would talk to his mom about it. A few days later, he told me he had called his mom and set some boundaries. He said he made it clear that he wouldn't tolerate anyone disrespecting me, even his own family. I was floored. It was the first time in our entire marriage that he had stood up for me like that. Since then, things have been slowly improving. We still have our moments, but overall, it feels like we're on a better path. My husband is making more of an effort to show his appreciation and to be an equal partner in our marriage. Looking back, I realized that a lot of our issues stem from his upbringing. His parents always put a lot of pressure on him to be the man of the house and to provide for his family. I think that's why he struggled so much with the idea of doing something nice for me on Mother's Day. In his mind, it was like admitting that he wasn't fulfilling his role as a husband and father. But through therapy and a lot of hard conversations, I think he's starting to see that being a good partner means more than just providing financially. It means showing up emotionally and being there for each other, even when it's hard. I know we still have a long way to go, but I'm hopeful for the future. I'm grateful for the progress we've made and for the support of this community. Thank you all for being there for me during this tough time. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.